Welcome back to Conversations with the Commissioner. I, of course, as you hopefully know by now, am your Commissioner Delonte Smith. And guys, we did it. We've reached 10 episodes. This is number 10. Happy 10 to us. We got four more to go if we're including myself. And I don't know if we're going to sit down with the conversation with the commissioner. I've been giving you all these great conversations with other owners. And today is going to be a great conversation. This guy is a day one. You know, we knew each other when we were, hey, teaching each other how to read and write. Today, I sit down with the D.C Hustlers owner, Travis Mayfield, a best friend, a brother to me, and hopefully to you, some of you in the league. But I say, without further ado, let's bring him in. Travis, sir, welcome to Conversations with the Commissioner. How are you?
How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing?
I'm good. Hopefully, everyone else has responded as well. But, sir, how are you?
I'm great. I'm better than I was yesterday.
That's fantastic to hear, sir. This is an honor. I want to say, it's we've got some turmoil going on inside the WhatsApp. It's always kicking in that WhatsApp, as I say on every episode. But it's an honor to be able to sit down with a brother. Someone who I've shared journeys with in life, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think people, often wonder or often have the question about how long we've actually known each other. I really don't put the amount of time that we've known each other because it's I think after a certain amount of time, it surpassed that. We just became brothers. That's it.
I mean, you brought it up.
Right.
Let's how long have we known each other?
Basically, since I'd say about second grade. Yeah, about second grade. Yeah, it's about second grade.
We're 36 years old, people. Just to give some context, I'm not afraid to share my age, and I think that kind of shows you how long this relationship has lasted. That we've brought ourselves this far, and now here we are sitting down having a conversation. So, sir, I'm going to enjoy this conversation. So, shall we get to it?
Hey, let's do it.
Alrighty. I do want to say first, as we get production to kind of tilt my screen. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, as we get to this conversation, sir, um, we're not holding any punches here, right?
Right.
Though we are brothers, I want to make sure that the league gets the answers for the questions that they want to know. If that's okay with you.
Hey, they can get any answers to the question that they want, as long as they come correct.
Thank you, sir. And I hope today I do. So let's get to it. You Can you share just a bit about the team name, the DC Hustlers, and what does it represent for you and your team?
Well, the DC Hustlers basically stands is basically in a nutshell. Uh, the Washington D.C. area or the D.C. metropolitan area has always known to have an ambition for grind. Trying to make whether it be a good thing or a bad thing. It's always consistently trying to make money or build a brand or even in politics. So it's just a steady grind. So it's the grind and the hustle. It's two different words, but they all mean the same thing. If you follow what I'm saying.
I got you. I got you. If you look at some of the BFBA apparel that's coming out, it says you can't knock the hustle, which means that
Yeah.
the hustlers, or grind and shine. I think is another one that we're
Right.
working on.
Right. Right.
The grind of the DC hustler, which
Right.
so far the season has been. I'm gonna be honest, it's been a grind, right?
The grind.
You've had a challenging start to this season with a record of 3-6.
Hmm.
You're currently on a 4-game losing streak, and after this week, I think we're gonna be hitting that 5th game losing streak. How would you assess your team's performance so far?
I mean, to be honest with you, I take part ownership in that too, because I have to give my guys a chance to perform. We have a few guys that every now and then, they have those dud nights. To where they really don't have a stat line, or maybe they might have played 36 minutes and had 0 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds, 0 points. You got somebody that might come in, they might play 36 minutes and got 5 points. You know what I'm saying? So it's really based on overall who who my team is going up against that day, how we are going to perform, based upon the outcome of everything. That's all that is too.
So
If consistency is key, but of course, everybody's not going to be consistent every day. So are you
the
going to hope
players
for?
the players on the team aren't giving consistent output. Is that what we're saying? Like
Yeah,
you
they're
get a
not
guy that
giving
has a
they're
30
not
point
really give they're not really giving consistent output. Like I said, I have to give them a chance. Like a lot of owners, what we do is that when we start to see that there's a slip in the production of a lot of the players that we have, what we end up doing is, we try to end up trading them off, maybe dropping them off into the waiver wire, what I'm saying, or doing a package deal to actually try to move these individuals. Then you end up moving them and then they actually end up performing. So it's really comes down to patience and consistency, if you want to, basically put it like that.
My apologies. That makes total sense. I there's certain other owners that have preached patience and consistency. I mean, if you look at Cedric Lucas, his last interview, that was the same thing he said about Joel Embiid. But I want to ask you something about patience and consistency. Gerald Jalen McCain,
Mm-hmm.
torn ACL rookie that was in the lead for Rookie of the Year for the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's correct.
Um, you had 3 IR spots. You dropped him. And then we turned around, and then the same day we paid $10 when we're very short on income. With our overall budget, instead of just putting them on your IR and as you said, patience. Where are we showing it in the on the team? Are why go back to make the pickup for the player when we had just dropped him? Now we're paying the money. Isn't that something that we could have just been patient on and putting the guy on IR and stashing him?
Well, here's the thing. We voted for each owner to be able to have 3 IR spots on their roster. So, in my mind, and what was being presented at the time, which was seen to be a light injury, I said, okay, I kind of go ahead and plug him in on the IR. Once they solidified that he was having, what is that? I think it's a torn ACL that you said, and he was out for the season. He was a candidate for Rookie of the Year. He was producing very well, but he's no longer He's no longer giving any productivity to the DC Hustlers. So therefore, you got to make room for next man up.
Understood, but I guess to the question, we have an available IR spot, correct? Like
Correct.
why not at the time just stash the player?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily stash him because it's come with us as owners. What we fail to realize is that sometimes we stash these players on these IR spots, and when we stash them, somebody that we actually have on the roster of importance that might be a star player or a superstar, as other people like to call them, uh, you now have no spaces on your IR because you're taking up space for somebody that could potentially be a superstar or potentially be a star. So now that you have that space taken up, now you have to rearrange stuff. Now you'd have to drop somebody, or you're forced to do a trade to make that space for you to accommodate that individual.
Totally understand that. And I guess a follow up question to that would be is that we make the drop
Mm-hmm.
even though we have the IR spot. Excuse me, sir. So sorry. We make the drop, even though we have the IR spot, correct? We
Correct.
then go and make the pickup of $10 for the player
Right.
to put back on the team, to then turn around and drop the player again.
Yes.
Why
So
even? Why? I guess why even make the payment of $10 when we're sitting on such a low funds?
um, it's funny that you mentioned that. I've heard this from maybe a few owners before. Uh, no bait, no, I'm sorry, excuse me. No bet is a safe bet. So when we make those wire waiver pickups, people usually say, "Oh, I put in $1, or I put in $2, or I put in five." You don't really know what somebody actually is putting in for that person, or what somebody is willing to pay. So therefore, you're left in suspense. So why not make a safe wager, versus then turning around kicking yourself in the ass for making a less wager than what you could have paid for. So yeah, I do. I think $10 is kind of steep. Yeah, but like I said, I had high hopes. So with those high hopes, I said, okay, I didn't think that he was going to turn around and tear his ACL and be out for the season. So,
But
that's like I said.
when you made the $10 when you made the $10 pickup, so sorry, sir. When I'm getting over cold. When you made the $10 pickup for McLean, he had already been notified that there was the torn ACL. So at this point, you now think that the move is for a pickup and a stash, right? He's going to go on the IR. But when you look at your IR, he's nowhere to be found on the team. Right. So now it's just, in my opinion, and this is just a commissioner's opinion and nobody else's, it's a waste of $10.
It could be a waste of $10 if you look at it to where, like I said, I have 3 IR spots. So if I have him on my IR spot, and let's say somebody like, I don't know, let's say I have Vujovic on my team. Let's say he goes down. Let's say somebody like Ayo DeCinemu. He plays for the Chicago Bulls. He just went down. He'll be evaluated in 10 days. I have to have that space for the people that I know that are going to produce. If you're not producing, I'm sorry, you'll no longer be a DC Hustler. I'm sorry. That's just what it is.
I totally understand that. I think and I'll move on past this. Just for me, the confusion comes of, we've already let the guy go, right? We've given him his walking papers. We signed him back for a 10-day, as we, $1 a day if we're going to count it. And he's gone after a 10-day when, what was your team evaluating the ACL tear themselves? Did your doctors want to speak to him? I guess, there's real questions of why even waste the money to pick the player up when, he could have sat on a bench somewhere else. Or possibly just been in free agency and been reevaluated in the draft coming next season. But we'll get more to that. We talked about the budget, right? Let's get right to it. With only $32 left out of a $1,000 budget for the full season, with playoffs come in March. If you're not in the playoffs, that's where that budget ends, right? So March 24th. How do you plan to manage the remaining resources, or your remaining resources, for the rest of the season, which would be $32?
To be honest with you, the strategical plan, we're not even going to say plan, the idea that I came up with, because all ideas don't fall through. I've seen a owner prior to, because I've only been in the league, 2 years now. I've seen an owner be low on funds and make dollar waiver pickups and win a championship. So therefore, I'm not going to say that the same method would work for me. But hey, you can't take it with you when you leave. You got to spend it.
We only got 6. We only got 6 owners that have won championships here, sir. We can count them on 2 hands. Are you willing to say the name of what owner that is?
I believe one of the owners would be the owner of the Sham Gods. I think he made a interesting pickup for it's DiVincenzo. If I can not mistake, I think it. I'm not sure if it was $1. I'm not sure.
No, it wasn't, sir. In the previous episode of Conversations with the Commissioner that we just had with Mr. Lucas, that was a $24 pickup. So, with your current budget of $32, if you do the math of 32 minus 24, how much are you left with, sir?
I'm left with 0. Shit, really. Not theoretically 0, but
I think it's. I think it's.
Theoretically speaking, like I said,
$8.
It's about. You said about 8.
You're left with $8.
Okay. So if I was to do what you just said,
Chief Financial Officer Danny Wang is sitting here, so the whole staff is here, so he was able to run those numbers up.
To everybody say happy holidays, all that good stuff.
They all say happy holidays. The whole staff here says happy holidays. And sorry to interrupt really quick, but happy holidays to you, sir. I hope the Christmas tide was well for you. Hope Santa brought you that BFBA jacket that you've been asking for. But back to the question.
He didn't bring it. He sent it by way of a commissioner, which was very appreciative. I think he was busy with Mrs. Claus and the rest of the reindeer up in the North Pole. So hey, I understand.
Hey, we do what we can here at the complex. But I mean, back to the conversation, sir. That pickup was a $24 pickup on the last day.
Mm-hmm.
With $32 left, you're making that pickup. You have $8, but we are in December 29th. We got 3 days or 3 days left before the new year, 2 days before the new year. And we go until March. So we still got 3 months to go with $32. So I'm not that owner. And I don't know if there are other owners that are that owner, but where where do we plan to manage that? Are we just $1 pickups? Are we 32 players for the rest of the season at $1?
So, I mean, to be honest with you, I really feel like I'm putting in the effort to see whether or not the guys, like I said, it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the interview, to see if my guys produce. If my guys produce, then I don't have to spend any money. Now, I'm willing to make $1 waiver pickup for anybody. Like I said, I go down the list. I'll be honest with you. I'll do maybe like 10 to 15 waiver wires. That's not to say I won't get them, because I'll be outbidded by the next person. Somebody might bet 15. Somebody might bet 20. I think I even put in $120. I believe it was $120 for Brook Lopez after I think the owner of the Chosen Warriors, Mr. Hines, Malcolm Hines. Yeah, I think he dropped Brook Lopez, and I was just like, you could have traded him instead of dropping him. You know what I'm saying? But you turn around and dropped him. I spent $120 on a lot. I got a lot of backlash about it, but it turned out to be a pretty good move. So but that was then. This is now. So like I said, going forward, it's just $1 waiver pickup. If the way that I'm trying to, I'm already come to the conclusion that of course, I'm not going to make it to the championship. Everybody says anything is possible, but we all know that that's not possible. It's no way possible I'm going to go on a however many game winning streak until the end of the season and make it to it could happen, but what's the odds in that? But right now I'm looking at next season. I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm rebuilding. I would say I'm retooling my team to put me in a position to be in playoff position and maybe in the championship round for next season.
So we say we've made the pickup for Brook Lopez and that was a good move.
Mm-hmm.
But we're currently, if we're counting today, I mean, today is Sunday when we've done this interview. Normally we're doing these on Saturday.
Right.
We're down 277 points in our matchup. So the matchup is over. This matchup is done.
Is.
And that adds to a 5-game losing streak. Where do we find the bright spots in making $120 pickup for a guy like Brook Lopez, but we haven't won a game in 5 weeks?
Again, it goes back to productivity. Some weeks, like I think it really boils down to when my guys. I think my guys have high and low points. What ends up happening is that for example, let's just say somebody like, I don't know, LaMelo Ball. He might have a good game against Golden State to where he has a crappy game against Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if somebody's if I don't care who it is, what player it is, if they're giving you consistency on a night in and night out, my idea of consistency would be a player producing anywhere between 25 fantasy points or better, day in and day out. Not 25 here, 9 there, 2 there, 1 there, maybe even 0 there. I am trying to find the players to mesh together to produce the consistency that I need on a daily basis so that I can continue to compete in the BFBA.
Understood. And I guess we are saying that, Brook Lopez is one of those players that's going to do that. I mean, he's giving you 15 to 20 points a game. Is that what we're saying? I mean,
you have
I checking my sources here. He's doing more than that. So I'm gonna actually agree with you on that point. I mean, you got 43-point games, 23 15-23. So he's proving the point that you're saying. I guess there's just we need more players like Brook Lopez.
Maybe not even Brook Lopez. We need more players like Brook Lopez. We probably need more players like a few players that I think I let slip between the cracks based on some deals that I've done with some previous owners. Uh, I don't feel as though those deals were solidified the way that they were supposed to be done. However, I have learned from my mistakes in reference to those deals. Everything shouldn't be done by word of mouth. I see that everything should somewhat be documented now, which is a good thing for the BFBA because going forward with that, it's in black and white. So it's no revert unless both owners decide to cancel the whole deal altogether. Then that's fine. But once it's written down in black and white and it's in you all's office, and whoever's in charge of handling that over at the organization, can attest to that. Once that is written down in black and white and both owners sign on that deal, then that's full. That's basically a full long agreement.
Is there? Uh, I mean, we want to get right to the to the source of what we're speaking about. Is there anything in particular that we're speaking about? I mean, we know, it's been said. We heard it in the interview with BX Bay Mob about the whole Joel Embiid move. For the Greens, the Johnsons Green, and then the first round pick that, and I'm going to quote him, because I want to be accurate here that Trav was thirsty for that deal. Are we talking about that one where the people that are watching this, they're not reading the WhatsApp, right? So
Right.
you're saying that there was an agreement with you and Randy, that something was going to go back and forth, but that now that we have, can you go in further detail? Are you willing to explain?
Okay, so I'm just gonna make it really short and sweet. It's no point in getting. I'm gonna take my hood off for this part. So basically, there was a verbal agreement between me and the Bay Mob. Uh, Part of it being my fault because I wasn't fully paying attention. This is the second time that I wasn't fully paying attention, but I'll touch base on that after this statement. Uh, Basically, in a nutshell, I wasn't paying attention. I saw an opportunity to get a superstar player, which was Joel Embiid. Of course, I knew it cost the price tag. Uh, Other than the number one draft pick that's supposedly and allegedly supposed to be the best player coming into the 2025 draft, there's nobody else in that draft. Uh, so I was willing to give up that first pick for Joel Embiid. Once I gave up that first pick for Joel Embiid, afterwards, I learned that Joel Embiid would be playing day to day, which I didn't really mind because I also had Andre Drummond, which is the backup to Joel Embiid. So, I kind of, looked at it, okay, we can kind of balance out. So we went from they weren't playing back to backs to actually being that they were now being suspended.
And
So
they were talking about Joel Embiid.
yes, so
Okay.
Mr. Embiid was suspended. So I reached out to the Bay Mob, to say, hey, maybe we can kind of give some a little bit of assurance because that deal isn't really favoring me in what type of way. So it was an agreement. The agreement was that uh, they were going to send over either Jalen Green to send somebody back to me that I sent to them, or they would send over OG Anobi. Uh, we basically ended the whole thing basically saying that I was getting feedback from other members in the BFBA saying that they got in my head and stuff like that. And ultimately, I just want to clear the air. They didn't get in my head. I just felt like that deal that we talked about verbally and that we shook hands on. And I think it was another owner that even agreed to what I was saying. Because even with everyone in the BFBA disagreeing somewhat to what I was saying to a degree, uh, Mr. Donald I think was the one that actually agreed to what I said. He said, "I don't care if it's a handshake. I don't care if it's in black and white. I don't care. An agreement is an agreement." So, I said someone finally understood what I was saying. So from there, we got to the point to where I never got OG. I never got somebody that I previously sent them. So I kind of just took it on the chin, and I thought it would actually be an opportunity to where I could use Joel Embiid and whatnot, but I ended up moving him to I moved him to another owner, and then he moved from another owner to another owner. So it was just like uh, I kind of feel like I got rid of a headache, but at the same time, I took a loss at the because I wouldn't necessarily say what was it classified? You said it was thirsty. Is that what it was? Yeah,
That
it
that
wasn't. Yeah,
that was Randy's words, and
yeah.
not mine at
So,
all.
so as far as thirsty, I have Gatorade in the house. I have water. What I'm saying, my kids have Kool-Aid, high tea. I'm never thirsty, so that definitely wasn't the case. I more so was looking at thinking that I was gaining something out of the deal, trading my first round draft pick away and acquiring Joel Embiid. Had I known, excuse me, these other things that were taking place prior to that, I probably would have never did the deal.
So let me just ask this because I feel like now that we've cleared the air, and we've gotten this out, it seems to be as though there was a gentleman's agreement,
Mm-hmm.
a virtual handshake in a sense that if this didn't work out the way that it was supposed to, we would reset and try again. And what the owner of the BXBA mob has done is kind of like not owned up on his side of the deal. Is kind of what you're saying. It you held up your end of the bargain, but he wasn't ready to dance when it was time for him to tango. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, yeah, that's basically what it is. And like I said, even when I mentioned it at first, I even kind of stepped back for a second. I said maybe I am kind of over exaggerating a little bit, but like I said, when the other owner stepped in and said, "Hey, what the owner of the DC Hustle is saying is kind of right. Whether it's a verbal agreement, whether it's
This
written."
is this is Brooklyn Valhalla,
Correct.
Donald Horton, and I think that's the
Correct.
image. If you're looking right above the head, we got that
Correct.
new
Correct. Correct.
that new
Correct.
banner going in, which looks great, by the way.
And I'm not necessarily name dropping, but I'm just saying solidifying when somebody is in agreement to what something when something makes sense. That's like yin and yang. He's saying like, yo, you made a verbal agreement. If you shook on it, and I sent the handshake emoji, and saying
Right,
it's like,
understood.
so
Right, I mean
right,
that's what I'm saying. If a virtual handshake is being sent, I mean that that's the name on the dotted line.
right.
Sir, let me say on behalf of the BFBA, I want to apologize for whatever discrepancy may have gone on between the two of you, and I hope that going forward in the season, there can be a clear understanding that when deals are made, whether they're over the phone, whether in FaceTime or in person, we want to make sure we're holding up on those deals. Let's move on, sir. Great conversation. But what do you think has been the biggest hurdle for the DC Hustlers this season?
Um. Again, I was no, I'll say again, consistency has been the biggest hurdle. That injury bug is mean. That injury bug, I don't care who you are. I don't care what owner you are. You can be an owner in another state, another continent, another world, another planet. Doesn't matter. That once you get that injury bug, it's nothing you can really do about it. Again, too, going back to again, once you get that injury bug, depending on who the player is, they're going to occupy that IR spot.
Understood.
So if all three of those IR spots are occupied and then somebody else goes down, you just have to rock with them.
Right. Now, let me ask a question because I mean you've the names that have come through the DC Hustlers, are a laundry list, and they're fantastic names. We've had Donovan Mitchell, we've had Jalen Brown, we've had LeBron James, we've had Derek Lively, Franz Wagner, we've had Aaron Gordon, Christoph Porzingis, Darius Garland, Austin Reeve, Kyle Kuzma, Jimmy Butler, Brooke Lopez was actually acquired in a trade at one point. So I think that pickup, you realize the mistakes there, right? Tobias Harris, Kobe White, I'll just give you a few more. We'll do the Jalen Johnson, Jalen Green, right? Remember Jordan Clarkson, Draymond Green. The list goes on, sir, of the names that have come through. Are we trading these players away because we're worried that they're injury prone? Like, we started our season with with a really good team. We went on a 3-game winning streak, I think it was. Uh, but then now we're sitting at 3-6. Why move away from such great players?
Again, as the owner of the DC Hustlers, I definitely take full responsibility for some of the transactions that have taken place. Again, it boils down to productivity. Uh, I might have felt at that moment specifically that those players weren't producing the numbers that I needed, specifically also against those specific other owners whose teams, were like I had like just to be clear, I've had almost everybody that you named, and
Oh,
I've
you
lost.
did. Everybody that
Yeah,
I named was on your team
yeah, it was my
specifically.
team, and I've lost with those people on my team.
Well,
So it's
not
not maybe
necessarily.
not
We
not
started our
maybe
season
not
off with
every.
a 2-game winning streak. Or I'm
Yeah, I mean,
sorry,
I started
I
out with
think
the two
we
name
started
winning
off with
streak.
a 3-game winning streak. Actually, you were one of the top winners. It was
Yeah, I was
you,
one of the top
Damien, and
winners.
Steven. And
But
then
yeah, I mean,
the
but I'm not the only owner that makes trades. So it's like even if I have star players on my squad, there are other star caliber players that are out here in the organization. So, you know, I could have a cream of the crop, but somebody else might have a black card of NBA players on their squad or a platinum card of NBA players on their squad. And, like even with me having the cream of the crop, that's still not enough to compete. So again, that goes back to trading. Like a lot of owners, they send out deals, for trading. They say, "Oh, I want this and I want that, but you got to give up this and that." And I'm like, my thing is, as long as both owners can meet in the middle, it's completely fine with me. But the moment that most owners aren't able to meet in the middle and it becomes a discrepancy, the deal usually falls out. And it usually falls out because another owner was like, "Hey, I'm interested in a player of yours that might be a star player, and this is what I'm willing to offer, which is crap." And I'm like, "Why are you offering me crap?" Or not even me crap. It could be another owner. I mean, like we have all expressed our feeling of concern, regarding trades through the chat, whether it been beginning in Facebook and now going to the WhatsApp, in reference to certain trades that are being offered. And, some other owners might even have private conversations in reference to trade offers that are being offered, and they don't make sense. So, sometimes, you have to say, what might make sense and look good to you in front of you at that moment might, sometimes a second opinion is nothing wrong with that. So if you are willing to make a deal and then that deal looks good to you, but then it says, "Hey, look, I don't think you should make that deal." For example, I might do a deal, or I might have a deal presented in my mailbox right now, and then I might say, "Hey, you know, I might say, hey, Commissioner, or hey, Sham Gods, this is what such and such is looking like.
I,
And then you say, "Hey,
I've lost audio, sir. I've lost his audio. Oh, you're back.
I'm sorry, the owner.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The owner of the New York Mindset was calling me during my interview. I don't know why, but
But let me get back to a point that you were making. Um, the DC Hustlers are consulting with other owners of what they believe their opinion is on the DC Hustler trades.
I
Are
mean,
you
it's
using
all.
them?
I mean, from not. So here we are. I'm not name dropping, but from what I understand from my sources, all owners conversate in reference to certain trades. The only people that really don't conversate about trades would be the women that are in the league. I'm just being honest with you. Like, and that would be the Brooklyn Stoop Kids or excuse me, Val. I don't know if they communicate. You know,
Valar Margulis.
yes, I don't know if they communicate. I'm pretty
Well,
sure they don't.
I do want to speak for. This is not my conversation. I say this every week, you know, and I guess I should maybe just not input, but I just want to be clear that I don't put my trades out there, right? We
Right.
keep everything between owners. We don't want negotiations to fall out into the WhatsApp as they do. But
Well, see, that
there's
has
no
been an issue.
bylaw.
That has
Go.
been an issue from other owners. Is from what I understand. I think the Brooklyn Mindset New York State Fighters, they brought to my attention one time that there was a deal that was apparently supposed to be done between him and Holly for the Brooklyn's two kids. And basically, the only way that deal was supposed to have gotten done is if he would have went through you first, which is the
So
Sham Gods.
so
And
may I interject just for a second, sir? Um, are we saying today that we're having direct conversation with NY Mindset of Fighters owner, Mr. Cedric Lucas, SLC committee member? You guys consult offline and speak about deals that are going to be done between each other within the league.
yeah, everybody does apparently from with the other sources that I've gathered. I wouldn't just necessarily so
May I ask what those other sources are?
I would just say other owners. I could be honest with you. I would just minimize I can tell you right now, I would remove the Brooklyn's two kids and Val from that conversation. Any other person might be conversing, excuse me, in reference to other deals and things like that. From what I've been told and what I understand. But I
And
mean,
may I assume that the information that you're receiving is coming from the NY Mindset of Fighters, Mr. Lucas, and he's the one that is saying that these other owners are having these conversations?
not necessarily him directly.
Okay.
But indirectly, you know what I'm saying. But I would also go. I don't want to go out on a limb. I would, if I had to say another individual's owner name, I wouldn't really say their name because we really kind of do most of our deals together. But yeah, this just understand that there's talk amongst the BFBA, excuse me, that there are other discussions with owners aside from the WhatsApp in reference to certain deals or certain
And
trends.
who should be doing deals with, and um if it's not a consulting, I mean, we're not going to throw the word collusions or anything like that, but I mean,
I wouldn't
there's
really necessarily say it's consulting. I would just
so it could be something more of a collusion. Would you be saying?
uh like I just stated, it would probably be an opinion. You know, sometimes like, hey, you can get a coat of paint. You say, I want to paint my living room Lucky Penny orange, and then you say, no, I think somebody might say, I think you should paint it black, or I think you should paint it volcanic ash. Sometimes a second opinion is good. Sometimes it may be good, sometimes not. But again,
But
that's the price that you
could
pay.
we say that whoever we're getting that second opinion from could be having insider information and could be telling you the reason why you need to be painting it lucky black and not copper penny, correct? I
I
mean,
wouldn't
we're
necessarily
we're
say
getting we're
I wouldn't
getting
necessarily
guidance.
say it's inside information. Let's be clear. I just want to put this on the record. The only inside information within this BFBA outside of the owners is Fantasy Labs for the NBA. For those owners, for the oncoming owners for next year, for
Mhm.
the current owners who aren't currently up to date with everything, Fantasy Labs is basically an app that tells you who's playing, who's not, who's in, who's out, who has a upper hand in scoring the high points, certain percentages and whatnot. I've taken the time out to study that app in reference to going forward, in reference to my players, my organization, and everything else pertaining to that.
Understood. So we're using Fantasy Labs to get the information, but we're also there's conversations that you're saying that's been having with other owners about what we should be doing with deals as well.
Yeah, I would say what we or what necessarily what should be done in a well, I wouldn't say what should be done in a deal. I would necessarily say if so, for example, if me and you were doing a deal, I would say, hey, this is what I would do. But that
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean that you have to follow what I would do. You still could go, you are a grown individual, and the owner of the Sham God. So you would be able to make your own decisions and choices by not being influenced by somebody else or somebody.
Understood, but we could also say that there could be some influence from another owner based on what they could probably provide for you, correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily just say provide for me. I would say provide for other owners as well. I mean,
Understood. Okay,
yeah,
I don't want to hold on too long,
yeah,
and
that's fine.
I
That's
got a
good.
good bit. I got a good bit of questions for you, and this is a great one. But let's get to another because we're talking about trades.
Mhm.
Have any of these trades or strategic moves been to rejuvenate your team or improve your standings? We're kind of giving some hot takes here that we're saying, we got some guys in our ears that are, that are sending me deals or maybe telling me what I should or should not be doing. Are some of those, do you think, are they for the betterment of your team, or you think they're for the betterment of the other team? How are these going to benefit the DC Hustlers?
So some of these moves that I've made, I've hoped and prayed that they were going to be in the better benefit for the DC Hustlers. What they've out the outcome has been is that they've been the better upper hand move for other owners. Um, what I would say, because I'm not a sour owner, I would congratulate any other owner that I've done a trade or deal with that has received a player that has helped their team in any way, shape, or form. Um, some of those deals that I've done with those players, uh, I took out a, I'm not going to say necessarily insurance policy, but I went out on a limb, assuming that those other individuals would perform for the DC Hustlers organization as they did for any other organization that they played with.
Could could
And
there possibly, and sorry to cut you off, could there possibly been like bad insight that you could have been given into be forced to
I don't
make this
necessarily
deal?
think it's bad. I don't necessarily think it's bad insight. As any owner for the BFBA, I think it's their responsibility to pay attention to what's going on in the National Basketball Association with all the players. Well, not all the players, excuse me, with any player that's on their roster. Let me say that you should definitely pay attention to their injuries, their strengths and weaknesses, who they play. They might, like I said, for example, LeBron might score 30 points against Indiana, but he might only score 20 against Detroit. So, sometimes, it's just about paying attention to the pros and cons of the game. That's pretty much it.
Understood. So where do we think we are on a BFBA championship? Where are we on the road to a BFBA championship?
I mean, well, as a hustler, you always have to have the mindset that, I'm on the road to a championship every day. So, it's never not a moment where I'm not thinking that I'm on the way to a championship, whether it's in the BFBA, whether it's in life, whether it's in being champion father, champion best friend, whatever it may be. I think that for me, I think a championship is definitely in the near future. Um, I will share some insight for all owners now going forward for the 2025 season. Uh, I'm limited to 5 trades. Five
This
for
is
the,
this is for next season.
this is for next season, correct?
Next
Yeah,
season,
that I'm
DC
limited to five.
Hustlers are limiting
Yeah,
themselves to 5 trades for
right.
the whole
So
season.
yeah, 5 off-season trades. That would be 20,
Fantastic,
40,
sir. This
60,
has
80,
been
100.
nothing but
Right.
I think breaking news after breaking news. So okay, all right. So if you're one of those lucky owners that are going to get one of those 5, then that's a deal.
So
But
what I will say is one of those lucky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 owners, they got to come correct. Don't
okay,
come to me with no, I want something. basically for something for nothing. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of something for nothing trades that take place in the BFBA that happen, and they're in question. Some of them have even been in review by the SLC. But like I said, we're all human. We all make our own decisions and choices. So like I said, it's 5 trades that I'm willing to make during the off season. After that, that leaves me a total of $900. That's
Very
what I'm
true.
going with from
And this is going to count for the offseason. I want to ask you a quick
right.
question. We talked about the SLC and reviewing trades. Um, you've been in the league for, we're going on what, I think 4 seasons now, or three. If
Nah,
we count
no,
if we
this
count our
was
first one where we had a jump start,
yeah.
next season will be your 4th season. Last season we did a deal with Trader Danny, that you admitted that wasn't a deal that you wanted to do, and we asked for a veto of the deal.
Mhm.
Where are we, and what prompted you to want to make that request? I mean, is that yet again another owner in your ear, maybe saying, "Hey, that's not the right thing to do," or
So the idea with Trader Danny is that he goes by strategically. He goes by numbers and what he thinks is an overall value. I've shared with him that I don't think that that's always the way to go. Uh, you know, there are several deals that like because I'll give you an example. We just did a recent deal to where the deal that we did, that the players that he gave me, they're producing, and the players that I gave him, they aren't producing, and he probably feels like he shot himself in the foot again. But again, knowing that your mindset going into the trade is that you're trying to overwork me, thinking that I'm not using my brain to actually get what I want out of the trade as well, then I'm sorry, I don't know what else to really tell you. Like I said, I tell this for me, I say this for you, the commissioner, also a fellow owner as well, and any owner in the BFBA. You have to want what you want. If you don't want what you want during that trade, nobody will respect you, nobody will value what you're asking for, therefore your trade will not go through.
so every trade that we've moved, every trade that you've done, every move that you have made has been what you have wanted. So where we currently sit at 3-6, this is kind of all a part of the plan. This is where we want to be. Um, is that kind of where we're getting at, or is it we have made
So
moves that
no,
I have made, but they
no.
haven't worked out the way I wanted them to?
So no, I don't definitely don't want to be at 3-6. Nobody wants to be at 3-6. I mean, I'm at 3-6. I'm tied with someone who actually just came back in. One of the owners who just came back into the league. I'm tied with him at 3-6, and that being Mr. Jose. Uh, so for me, it's like you came back into the league with a hell of a roster to work with. To now to the point where you're actually putting up the numbers that you need to put up, and it's just like based on the league. I can't speak for everyone. I can't speak for you. Can't speak, but from my sources that I've said, nobody expected him to go anywhere. Based on anything,
But-
they
And
they actually expected him to have somewhat of the record that Mr. Malcolm has, but
and,
Mr.
and
Jose, Mr.
are,
Jose seems to proving them wrong. So let me
are
just say that.
are we willing to speak of who these sources are? Or, I mean, they
Not
have to be
really.
known to the league as well, right?
It was a group. It was a group thing. It wasn't really a direct
So
uh,
so
individual.
so there were multiple sources that are saying this is what we're saying.
Correct.
Understood. I hope maybe those sources are willing to come forward and maybe speak for themselves. I think we've heard one today in Mr. Lucas, and that the conversations you all have, but that's between the two of
I
you, and
mean, bro,
I think whatever investigations
I'll add
will
this.
go
I'll
on.
add this as a footnote, and then we can go into the next question. When I first came into the league, most of the owners, minus the women, even a previous owner, which was I think it was Janae, who now Jose has in control of her team. Um, I was told to watch out for Mr. Lucas because he had tried to give me bad deals and stuff like that, whatever. But I've come to see that Mr. Lucas sometimes actually gives pretty fair deals. It's the individuals who told me to look out for his deals that actually give bad deals.
Interesting. All righty. The plot thickens. We've talked about a lot of the competitors in the league and other owners. Who's been your biggest competitor within the BFBA?
Wow, my biggest competitor. Hmm. Honestly, Mr. Knap. Mr. Knap has been my biggest competitor. I say he's my biggest competitor because not only is he my biggest competitor when we're going up against each other, excuse me, pause, for those that this generation, I don't know if you're aware of that. Pause means that when you say something that's kind of homophobic, you have to add that in there because they don't want to think people are thinking that you're, anyway.
I'm sorry. I missed the. My apologies. I missed the homophobic statement that you made, and
Yeah,
I just want
the
to say
homophobic
here in the
statement
BSBA,
when we're going.
we appreciate
I'm
all
sorry.
walks
Yeah,
of
I'm
life.
sorry.
And
I said when me and Mr. Knap are going up against each other, I had to pause that. So, but continuing
I
on.
I don't. I'm sorry. I don't get it. Yeah, please
Yeah,
continue.
but it's cool. But anyway, he's very competitive not only when we're playing each other, but when we're making trades and deals. We make trades and deals. He kind of stand pat on what he wants. He's competitive. Like I said, he's very competitive. He talks a lot of shit. A lot of owners don't really give a lot of respect to him. I kind of underestimated him a little, just a tiny bit, maybe like a grain of rice, a bit, but that's pretty much cool. He's a good competitor. I actually have two, to be honest with you. The other competitor is Damien. Damien was somebody that I was doing trades with when I first came into the league. Uh, I was doing trades with him, and I was told not to do trades with Damien because trades with Damien would send me over the top. As we can see, I just did a recent deal to where Damien actually said he could have offered me a better deal, but his deal again goes back to what I said in the beginning of the conversation. Uh, you wanting star players for bench players, and I can't give you a bench player. I mean, I'm sorry, excuse me. I can't give you a star player for bench players. That's like who you're asking for. The two players that you're offering me, they don't even combine with the person that you're asking me for. So, and that's not even just pertaining to Mr. Damien as well. I'm sorry, that's pertaining to other owners. I say other owners because I say them collectively, minus the ladies, because the ladies pretty much mind their business.
Uh, Understood. Just to give you a little ESPN reporting, your actual biggest competitor has been myself, the Sham Gods, with a 1-5 record.
Well, how
Um,
do you feel about that?
how do I feel about me being your toughest opponent?
Yeah.
I feel that the I feel as though personally, I mean, this isn't my conversation, but that your team is on the road to a recovery, and that at times there's some relapses, and maybe one day we'll be a full champion, but the record proves itself. Um,
Do you
I,
feel like any of the trades that you have made have been solid or solidified? Because if I can backtrack, I think me and you did a deal. Oh no, not me and you. Excuse me. Me and the Sham guys did a deal to where, and again, this goes back to where the deal like Joel Embiid or things like that, to where again I saw a diamond in the rough. You offered the Sham guys offered me James Harden. And I think James Harden was going from the Philadelphia 76ers to the Los Angeles Clippers. What I didn't know within that time period of training that he wasn't reporting to training camp. And when he didn't report to training camp, he didn't play. So I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Things like that. So, it was also, it was brought, to my attention to other owners that, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that the Sham guys knew what they were doing, but it also was my fault as well because I wasn't paying attention to what was going on.
and
So
I mean, let me just also follow up on that. I mean, you also then moved James Harden to the Evil Empire, who you're currently playing, and James Harden is averaging about, I mean, 40 to 50, 40 points a game.
Right.
He's averaging 48 points a game. So though there was no in my insight may have been wrong to send him away because now he's averaging 48 points a game. We're agreeing that we didn't keep him, and we also sent him away to another team that is now not benefiting you of this week, correct?
That and that there has been some speculation throughout the BFBA that some owners often tend to take advantage of other owners in specific situations to where they would acquire an individual that there's or make a trade based off the knowledge that they have that the other individual may not have. Again, going back to the a part in this conversation to where I said now this fantasy labs thing has given some insight to where before you actually make a necessary trade or which it is that you're doing, you have trade analyzation and you have the fantasy lab. So before you actually step out there and just make these actually deals and transactions that you do with these other owners, just make sure you do your research and your homework.
Understood. So we've had a great conversation, sir. And next year, 2025, where we're only giving out them 5 trades, right?
Exactly.
We're also going to be going into an expansion. We're going to have 14 teams. We're going to 16. We're currently 14. We're moving to 16. What advice would you want to give for new fantasy owners that want to be competitive within this league?
I would actually give them that, be competitive, stand your ground. If don't be afraid to make trades. If something feels good to you, do it. That you don't necessarily have to consult with other owners to think, which is like I said, which is the second opinion to think whether or not a deal is good or not. Um, but don't be afraid to take a risk. Like, hey, I mean, I might not be the best example of it. Like I said, I've taken risks 2 seasons in a row, like to where I've basically ended up in the not having pretty much no money towards the end of the season, but I've ended up with players that I can hold on to the next season and actually work around. I think I just worked a recent deal to where I received a third round pick from K Nap. I'm receiving. I think he put it in the BFBA chat. So I went from the first round first pick of the draft to the first round, I believe, fifth pick or eighth pick of the draft. I'm not sure. I have to get with the organization to double check on that. So to pick twice in the third round and to pick once in the first, and then I think I pick another time in the second. So I'm kind of cool with that. Uh, it also is cool to see where we will go next year with in reference to players because if I'm not mistaken, is it 7 keepers like it is this year, or is it a different amount? It's 7 keepers next
7
year.
keepers. Yeah, we
So right.
stay at
So
7.
with that being said, with people having 7 keepers, uh, it's interesting to see who's going to keep who they actually want to keep and who they're going to drop. So with that being said, with those draft picks that I have, uh, taking a note from, even though we had a bad deal in the beginning of the season, taking a note from Bay Mob, having draft capital. Having draft capital is very important because the more picks that you have, whether you like it or not, the better off you are.
Understood. Well, Travis, owner of the DC Hustlers, sir, this has been a fantastic interview. I want to thank you for taking the time out to talk to me. Welcome me into your home, and as I sit here in the complex, sir, thank you. Anything else for the people before we get out of here?
Man, I'm just thankful I'm able to do this interview without my kids interrupting. They've been actually patient and been really quiet.
I give you that one, sir. So let's not jinx it. Let's get out of here, sir. From the complex to Travis's home. This has been a
I
conversation
take
with
that
you.
back. I take that back. The oldest came in here earlier to get a Gatorade, but I was just kind of like, I kind of cut my eyes at her, like, can you just get out of here? Like, but it's all good.
Well, hey, they didn't interrupt such a great interview. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been a conversation with your commissioner.